Good morning. My name is Thomas Enoncho. This is CYB 650 Innovation in Security Frameworks. Topic for today: Organization Cybersecurity Policy and Executive Summary. The first thing we look at is a process for creation of different types of standards. So it all begins with the idea, and then it goes down to the project approval process, which involves developing the draft standards that's working in groups, and then we have to sponsor the ballot, and then the IEEE standard board and approval process, and then the standard is published. So after a maximum of 10 years, the standard goes through a revision and it is decided if it is withdrawn. If the standard is withdrawn, then it is archived. So what we look now, we try to align our organization to the NIST cybersecurity framework. The NIST cybersecurity framework has 5 core functions. So the first is the identify. This helps the organization identify the critical assets such as the hardware, which comprises of computers, servers, and switches, the software, which is the mission critical applications and support systems, facilities and other equipments, data, which comprise of corporate data, financial data, customers data, etc. The next is the protect. This helps put important defensive controls in place based on its critical assets, risk tolerance, and other inputs from the identify function. Over the last 2 years, we know Nook Incorporated has had a couple of incidences ranging from social engineering to phishing and spear phishing attacks. So the next one is a detect. This helps Nook shorten the time to discovery by spotting anomalies, investigating events, continuously monitoring, and other detection processes. Nook Incorporated is planning to develop capabilities to support artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, and other data analytics, both on-premise and remotely to developers. The next is the response. This helps take the right action immediately through incident response planning, analysis, mitigation, communication, and ongoing improvement. Nook's management has suggested that the developers network be segmented from the corporate network and information systems. Both the corporate network and the developers network need to have data loss prevention capabilities. The last aspect of the NIST cybersecurity framework is the recover. This helps Nook restore operations through recovery planning, continuous improvement, and communication. Nook Incorporated has embraced the remote work culture and is working on outsourcing all its IT information systems to a leading cloud service provider. If on-site infrastructure fails or an incident affects it, organizations can recover all or part of their workload in the cloud. Now we're looking at the various regulatory requirements specific to Nook Incorporated. So Nook Incorporated is a software application development company specializing in the development of technology for autonomous vehicle. So what are the standards and regulations that apply to it? The first is the ISO 12207, that's the software development life cycle. Nook Incorporated must comply with ISO 12207, which aims to be a standard that defines all the tasks required for developing and maintaining software. The next is the ISO 27001, that's information security. This standard regulates every single aspect of security as concerns to software development. The next is the General Data Protection Regulation. Since Nook Incorporated is planning to open up an office in Munich, Germany, because it wants to be in close proximity with the Bavarian Motor Works BMW, it means it has to adhere to the GDPR, which regulates all companies holding data of European citizens. The next is the Federal Information Security Management Act of 2002, also known as FISMA. Since Nook Incorporated is planning to leverage data from various US departments such as the US DOT and the NHTSA, it therefore has to comply with FISMA. California Consumer Privacy Act of 2018. This is a law that allows any California customer to demand to see all the information the company has saved on them. Since Nook Incorporated is already functioning in continental USA, it has to comply to the California Consumer Privacy Act since it has customers in California. So now we're going to look at the Nook Incorporated security policy. So the security policy we are going to be looking at 3 policies specific to Nook Incorporated because of the series of cyber attacks I've had in the past 2 years. So the first policy we're going to be looking at is the acceptable use policy for information systems. So all employees using company information resources such as computers, phones, and printers, must comply with this policy. Employees must promptly report harmful events or policy violation involving company assets or information resources to the managers. Employees should not purposely engage in activities that may reduce the performance of company information resources, deny authorized users access, grant themselves more access than they deserve, compromise company computer security measures. All software programs and utilities must be downloaded and installed by the IT department. Computer information resources are provided to facilitate company job and should not be used for personal purposes. Company employees should not intentionally access, create, store, or transmit obscene or offensive material such as pornography over the company's network. So now we look at the social media policy. We are going to be looking at four main areas. Consideration. Employees are required to be mindful of how others are affected by their comments on social media. Consent. No employee should post anything on social media on behalf of the company without prior approval by the managers. Safety. Social media and other social apps like dating websites should not be accessed through the company network because they are seen as playground for hackers. Confidentiality. No employee should post anything on social media that disclose personal information about themselves or other colleagues. So the last security policy we're going to be looking at is the mobile device policy. So this policy applies to both devices owned by the employees and devices owned by the company. So the first we look at the access control. The IT department deserves the right to grant access to any mobile device that is attempting to connect to the company network. All personal mobile devices attempting to connect to the corporate network through the internet will be inspected by the IT department. All mobile devices might be protected by strong password. All mobile devices are used to store access company data must adhere to authentication requirement. When accessing the internet through the company network, employees' credentials and internet sessions will not be locked on. Usage of a mobile device to capture images, video, or audio within the premise is prohibited. In the event of a loss or theft of a mobile device, the employee must report to IT department immediately to prevent the data on the device from being stolen by hackers. All mobile devices owned by the company or and in possession of employees must be returned to the company in the event of termination of employment. Failure to adhere to mobile device will lead to disciplinary action or at worst termination. Now we look at information, organization systems and network diagram. So we look at the information flow within an enterprise. So the information starts with the internet. So the internet goes to the workstation and then the workstation sends information back and forth from the servers, and the servers get information from the database that sends to the workstation, which in return supply to the clients and the users. So the users need an authentication to get access to the workstation. The next we look at the software application enterprise network diagram. So here we have the internet. The information moves from the internet to the various routers, so the wireless router and the LAN router, which in turn goes through the firewalls. So the wireless router supplies connectivity to the wireless devices like laptop, mobile phones, copiers and printers and fax. Using a switch, the LAN goes through different servers, the proxy server, the email server, and the DHCP server, which in turn use a switch to supply the workstations. The workstations use a switch to connect to the telephones and to the printers, and then eventually to the application servers. Now we look at the organization's risk assessment, business impact analysis, and the business continuity plan. Right here, we're going to focus on four main areas of the business impact analysis. We're looking at the safety critical assets, mission critical, business critical, and security critical. So safety critical systems. These are systems that address safety or serious injury to people, loss or severe damage to equipment. So these are like the facility safety systems, airbags, braking systems, etc. So safety critical systems create a safe working environment, minimize, control, and reduce the impact of hazards. So that's the impact. Mission critical, these are systems that must function continuously for a business or business segment to be successful. That's like a database, a computer network system, electricity, communication system. These are systems responsible for ensuring the continuity of the business. Typically, operations come to a complete halt if these systems fail. Business critical system. These are systems whose failure may result in very high financial cost to the company, like if the point of sale goes down, marketing system, HR, accounting, or payroll system. Failure or the impact of the failure of the business critical infrastructure is heavy financial loss to the company. So we have security critical systems. Security critical systems are systems that deal with the loss of sensitive data through theft or accidental loss. And these systems include intrusive IDPs and IPS, data backup systems, physical security systems, computer access control systems. So security failures have the highest impact by far compared to other critical systems because they may lead to a complete loss or control of the company. That's distributed denial of service. So now we look at the incident response and incident handling plan. So now we have to get a summary of the company. So that's Nook Incorporated is a software development application company. The objective to ensure an effective response to cybersecurity incidents, protect state data from loss, and prevent disruption of operations. These procedures implement the incident handling and reporting requirement of Nooks Incorporated as stipulated by NIST Special Publication 800/61 revision number 2, which is the Computer Security Incident Handling Guide. The scope. This procedure applies to all members of the organization, especially those in the incident handling response team, internal and external stakeholders, and contractors. So the very first step of the incident handling and response plan is preparation. So what happens in the preparation stage? This is where you have training and you have assembly of the resources needed. So you have to train all the members of the incident response plan, and you have to put together all the resources needed to respond to an incident. For example, the contact information of the members of the team, communication devices, and data analytica and technology. So the next step is the incidents containment, eradication, and recovery. So containment basically involves making sure the incident do not spread to other assets that have not already been attacked. Eradication is a complete elimination of the threat from the system, while recovery is returning the system back to normal operation after the threat has been eradicated. So there are various ways you can eradicate. You can recover the system from a clean backup, from installation of patches, from replacing compromised files with clean versions, or rebuilding systems from scratch. The next part of the incident response plan is the post-incident activity. This is where we look at the lessons learned, data retention, and the reporting. So lessons learned, what exactly happened and at what time? What information was needed sooner? Were any steps or actions taken that might have inhibited the recovery? And then what corrective actions could have been taken? And then what are the precursors or indicators should be watched for in the future to detect similar incidents? Then you have the reporting. So every single incident has to be reported to regulatory bodies. You have to report it to, you have to inform the various stakeholders to know if their data was affected in the process. Now we are going to be looking at cybersecurity infographics. So the first thing we look at is the risk implication of internet use. So the very first risk implication of internet use is social engineering. This especially concerns Nook Incorporated, considering the past 2 years I've had a couple of social engineering attacks. So you have data leak or theft. Data transmission between devices is susceptible to interception by third parties, leading to data theft and the leak of sensitive information. So you have cyber attacks. The internet has made it possible for hackers to infiltrate your computer system from any part of the world, such as the ransomware, phishing, DOS, and espionage. The second is broken authentication. Occurs when attackers are able to compromise password keys or session tokens. The third is broken object property level authorization, which brings together attackers gaining unauthorized access to sensitive information by way of excessive data exposure or mass assignment. The fifth is broken function level authorization, a permission IDOR, insecure direct object reference, whereby a regular user can carry out an administrative level task. So the sixth is a server-side request forgery. An attacker can abuse functionality on the server to read or update internal resources. So the seventh one is the security misconfiguration, whereby the security of the whole system is not well configured, therefore hackers can infiltrate. The eighth is the lack of protection from automated threats like carding, fingerprinting, denial of inventory, scaping, sniping, etc. Number 9, improper inventory management. This occurs when there is a lack of proper documentation of expected API usage to eliminate data flow blind spots and track all public, private, partner, and integrated API services. And the last one is unsafe consumption of APIs. Developers tend to trust data received from third-party APIs more than user inputs. Because of this, they tend to adopt weaker security standards. Now we look at ways and methods to implement security for web applications. So web application security best practices, we have access control authentication, management by exception, data encryption, prevent security misconfiguration, and proactive quality assurance and testing. So web application security technologies, we have the SAST, that's static application security testing. Scans your resource code for vulnerabilities and security risk. We have the DAST, dynamic application security testing, involve testing deployed or running code to find vulnerabilities. And we have the IAST, interactive application security testing, analyzes code for security vulnerabilities while the app is running. Now we look at the executive summary of NICS Incorporated. And NICS Incorporated, our primary mission is leveraging technology to improve the economy and everyone's life. This means that we strive to bring the most excellent software engineers, computer scientists, and researchers together to improve the future of transportation. The mission, NICS Incorporated want to develop application and software that will make it safe and easy for people and goods to travel to and from their destination. Vision. Our vision is to be the world leader in software and application development to improve how goods and people travel within the global economy. So our values, we have excellence, we have inclusivity, integrity, and leadership. And then the market analysis. Over the last 3 years, the company has been conducting research on developing software to revolutionize the transportation industry. The company is in the final stage of developing autonomous vehicle technology and software. It's a public traded company listed on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. NICS Incorporated has about 500 employees and is planning to make entry into European market, specifically in Germany, where it plans to open a factory close to the Bavarian Motor Works company. It's headquartered in Detroit, Michigan, close to the big 3 American automakers. So the problem of the company right now is the frequent cyber attacks that has happened over the past 2 years, social engineering and phishing and spear phishing attacks. So what are the solutions to this problem? NICS Incorporated is planning on doing significant upgrade on the organization's enterprise network and information system to ensure the security of the organization's intellectual property. The enterprise solution for NICS Incorporated need to have capabilities to support artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, and data analytics for both on-premise and remote developers. The developers network and the corporate network has to be segmented. Both corporate and developers network need to have data prevention capabilities. And here are the references. Thank you.